And then they've yet somehow added so much weight and meaning to that film, considering it was written without any of this being known. Like, the way they've pieced this story together to so perfectly flow into Rogue One and also weave around, like, the stuff we knew from Rebels. Like, they've just a masterpiece with the way they've told this story.
And that, I think, is like a beautiful sentiment to go, I value you so much, even though you've done this thing which might be unforgivable. I want to try and forgive you anyway. I genuinely think the first time I've ever seen a program that not only makes you laugh because the comedy is so good, but makes you sit there and go, wow, I have such a new level of respect for comedians. It is a genuine masterpiece of TV. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Cutscene Convos. This is episode 161 and we have got a lot to discuss. We have the Andor Finale, The Last of Us, Gamechangers, maybe their best episode ever, some might say. I went and saw the new Final Destination. I'm sure Horry saw some things as well. We'll get into that. We have a character profile on Ghost. Mission Impossible is, if rumours are to be believed, the final film's out now. How does cinema live on? And as always, the Nerd News Network. But for all that good stuff, Horizontal, how was your week?
My week was pretty good. I mean, it's funny, work was like chill at the end of last week, and then this week, just a bit more full on. There's like all sorts going on.
Ebbs and flows.
Yeah, and it's like sale kicks off this week, so there's all the final like cleanup bits for that have been going on, prep for next seasonal things and stuff. It's just, yeah, it's what I'm realizing is I have gone like full corpo storyline now.
Heartbreaking.
Unintentionally, it's like my day to day is a lot of emails, a lot of spreadsheets, with a bit of design stuff just sprinkled in here and there.
If you can't beat them, join them.
It's just funny to me because I realized over this last week, I'm like, yeah, I really am now like full corpo emails all the time and like that, becoming that person. But I mean, it's good. It's good fun. I enjoy it. Other than that, my week's been... I had a very interesting weekend. My weekend got hijacked by my sister, and I was roped into moving a piano.
Moving a piano?
Moving a piano. So, for context, we have had a piano in our house here. It was my grandma's, and my sister took claim to it after my grandma died, like 13 years ago. A while ago. But obviously, she lived here, so it came here. Then when she moved out, she never lived in a place big enough.
Did your sister play it?
Yeah.
Can she play piano?
Oh, yeah. She plays piano.
So she's not just gone, that piano is lovely, I'm not letting you throw it away. She can actually play it.
She was the person in the family that played piano. So, like...
Okay, I have a lot less of an issue with her, like, laying claim to it and not letting it go anywhere. Okay, cool.
But, like, it's funny because it's, like, it's hers, but it's lived here now for, like... She's been moved out for years, but never had a place either big enough or, like, was in rent. Like, was never practical. And then, obviously, since they've got this new house... They decided,
she was like, it's time.
Well, yeah, and then also my brother-in-law, one of his relatives has recently passed away, and he's been left a random piece of furniture.
I thought you were about to say a second piano. So your sister had to like get her piano in before there was a piano there, and then she'd never be able to get it in.
He's been left like a really random, and like they are. It's one of those where you're like, thank you. We really wanted this piece of large furniture.
It's an avocado!
Doesn't
Thanks!
really... It's like, so they had to come collect that. So it turned into a weekend of moving furniture and being a room. But
And pianos are like famously easy to move.
I'll be honest, it went smoother than I expected. But it was like, I said this at the end of it all. I was like, thank God I've been working out for the past year. Because genuinely, if this was like the summer last year, no chance would I
You'd have
have
been dead
not been
after
injured.
5 minutes.
Like, I was like essentially doing deadlifts with a piano. And like,
So
yeah.
big and muscly.
But it was fairly smooth, but it took up like a lot, obviously. Loading it into the van, then like taking furniture down. It turned into the whole weekend. But yeah, that my weekend turned into like a removal weekend. How's your week been?
My week's been okay. So, finished
Anything
podcast off last
changed?
week. Finished podcast off last weekend. Obviously, this weekend coming, we're in Lisbon. So I'm like, need to get ahead on editing. After being ahead for like 2 months, it all caught up with me. I was like, fuck. So I was running around like a headless chicken trying to get that done. We also had Final Destination on Friday evening. Saturday was just, I got up and went for my run. And then it was just literally edit for the rest of the day. It was fucking absurd. Then Sunday morning, up nice and early to head round to my parents to have my head shaved. The obligatory ding dong, hair is gone. For those of you who care, the video showing the entire process will be up on my channel on Monday. So that was Sunday morning. My parents are extra as all hell, and God bless them for it. So my mum got like bunting and balloons and shit. And we had a barbecue, like, is it like a lunchtime dinner barbecue type vibe? So we did that. And then it was back into work, but it's a 4-day work week for me because I'm off on Friday. And I'm getting ready to go on holiday for a week. So it's just like that slog of trying to actually get anything done in that final week. Like, so far this year, since January, I've had 3 days off, like, for annual leave. So, like, I need a break, but my body is just like, you can do it. Just get there. You got it. On Monday, I finished my Couch to 5K program. So I am, according to the app, I'm now officially a runner. So there you go. Sarah Millican was very proud of me.
Runner and a track star.
So now I'm a graduate of the program, so I unlock even more difficult runs, which is good because I have no idea how I'd keep improving before race day without more harder things to do. But yeah, other than that, it's just been a busy week trying to continue getting content sorted, kind of half stop putting clothes aside and packing for going away to Lisbon, making sure all of that stuff is squared away. But yeah, it's just been a weird fucking week. I don't know how it's already Wednesday. I feel like my flight's in 2 hours and 2 years at the same time. It's like Crimbo Limbo bit in the middle of the fucking year. I don't know how it happened. But other than that, my week's like actually been fine. I'm flagging a bit, and this holiday is much needed, and it's going to be great. Fair. Shall we get into our various contents of choice this week?
I think we should.
So, obviously, we both watched the last 3 episodes of Andor.
Yes.
We had the newest episode of The Last of Us.
Yes.
The newest episode of Gamechanger.
Yes.
I watched Final Destination Bloodlines. Anything else that was new and noteworthy enough to you to bring up?
No.
Or was that about it?
Unfortunately, the rest of my free time was taken up moving a piano, so I didn't really watch anything else.
Awesome. Should we start off with the Andor finale then?
Yes, I have been itching to talk. I mean, I have a question. I'm presuming this is a no, but you didn't manage to watch Rogue One.
No, I couldn't squeeze Rogue One in. I'm thinking I'm gonna download it on my phone and watch it on the plane. So my joy with trying to watch Andor got very stressful because late Sunday night we were having an issue from Saturday morning where Disney Plus on our devices was not working. I'm
Oh.
talking my web browser, my phone, Jenna's phone, the Chromecast, none of it not working.
Oh.
So I'm like, oh, that's a bit weird. But I was like, I don't have time to watch it anyway. I'll check it this evening. Still wasn't working. We were out all day Sunday. I went to check it again. I was like, shit, still not working. Do the obligatory like Google search and stuff. See if Disney Plus is just down.
Mm.
It's not. So I get on a fucking call, live chat with them. I'm like, the fuck's happened here? Your services aren't down, but none of my devices are working. What's going on? And they're like, oh, it looks like we have an IP confliction. I'm like, how the fuck is that my problem? Your server should be able to remedy that so easily. Who cares? She was like, okay, let me try like resetting the IP that the system's expecting from you or some shit, so that hopefully it will just let you log in again. I'm like, okay, sweet, do that. It works for my phone and nothing else. I'm like, cool. Do you want to try again?
Really, really glad we're paying for this service.
Yeah. So then she goes, okay, we've done like a full reset. You're gonna need to like turn your router back off and back on. I'm like, so I have to turn off my entire internet, wait for it to boot back up, and hope all my devices are connected again. And if they're not, I then have to go back through this ball ache process that's taken me 40 minutes to get this far. And I'm gonna like
Tried
lose this
turning
chat
it
because
off
the
and on.
internet will be down. And she's like, oh, I'm so sorry, but this will work. I'm like, yeah, fucking better. So I do it. It works. I'm like, sweet, crack on. Go to bed. Wake up an hour later. And my brain clearly knew something was wrong. The fact that I woke up like an hour later, I roll over, I check my phone, and I'm logged out. It's logged me out of every device.
Nice.
And then, for some reason, we can't remember the password, not the end of the world, but Disney doesn't do password reset links anymore. They do one-time codes.
Oh.
But the one-time codes weren't sending properly, so I'd request one-time code. It wouldn't come through for like 5 minutes. I'd be like, okay, resend code. Then it'd send through the first code, which is no
Please
longer
do. Yeah.
valid.
Yeah.
And then I'd be
Love
like,
when
okay,
they do that.
I'll just be patient and wait. Still wouldn't come through. So then after like 10, 15 minutes, I'm like, oh, that code's going to time out now. I'll press it again. Then the second code will come there. I'm like, what the fuck? And then I go to do it another time. And it's like, sorry, you've got too many codes out in the wild right now. We can't let you have any more. I'm like, what the fuck is this system? So I very angrily and grumpily went to sleep. And I was like, I'll fucking sort it tomorrow. Fortunately, when I woke up properly in the morning, it did work first time. Because if it hadn't, I may have become violent towards the mouse.
And
But
took to the high seas.
yeah. But fortunately, I managed to get it sorted in the end. I managed to watch Andor, but it was a fucking ball ache. I was like, I would love to watch Rogue One, but now I'm just watching Andor at like 8 o'clock at night until 11 o'clock at night, last night or Monday night, wherever it was, just to fucking get it done. It was absurd. But it was worth it because
Yes.
what's a finale?
Oh, honestly, the fact somehow I feel like every week the triple episodes just somehow felt that bit better, and I think it's mainly because we knew where the story was building, and it's like each week there's just more weight being added, and we know where it's all leading to, so it feels just like the story just feels more powerful each week. But
Yeah.
the the way that they managed to tie this story up, even though we knew where we were ending, and like the best thing I've seen is like that kind of sums up sort of this whole Andor 2 seasons is when we got Rogue One and everyone was like, oh, we don't need this film, we know what it's like, and then like, everyone was like, wait, this is a great film. And then they announced Andor is going to get a season. Everyone was like, oh, but that's just that random character in Rogue One. Like, this can't be any good. And then they've yet somehow added so much weight and meaning to that film. considering it was written without any of this being known, like the way they've pieced this story together to so perfectly flow into Rogue One and also weave around like the stuff we knew from Rebels and from like all the animated stuff. Like they've just a masterpiece with the way they've told this story.
I completely agree. I think you raise a really, really good point around the idea of people going, "Oh, we don't need this."
Mm.
If we look at the things that have come out recently, Thunderbolts, Andor, projects like that are projects that got a reaction of who wants this? I mean, Agatha all along, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, true.
Everyone's just like, no one's asking for this. And it goes to show that, yes, as fans of a franchise, we do matter. But at the end of the day, these incredibly creative and talented people who also love these IPs and these franchises do have good ideas. And just because you don't know you want it, doesn't mean you don't want it.
Oh, yeah.
And don't get me wrong, we need to be careful. We don't want Disney thinking everyone wants a 2-series spin-off of every side character.
No.
But there is also an element of just because no one asked for it doesn't mean there isn't a story there worth telling. And if someone like Tony Gilroy is confident that he's got a story to tell for that character, we should trust them. I think it is one of the most powerful arguments I will ever be able to make for why franchises aren't just money-making machines. We spoke about it a few times with Andor Season 1, about how if you were to try, if like Andor Season 1 was just released and no one knew it was a Star Wars project, it was just a sci-fi dystopian project, it would be viewed as a masterpiece because people wouldn't have it wouldn't have the stink of it being a big IP.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
Andor Season 2 elevates that even further for me. Yeah, people are respecting it and loving it, but you can't tell me that this doesn't prove that people look down on genuinely thought-provoking and beautiful projects from IPs as less than because they're from an IP.
Yeah,
and hopefully this allows the studios to learn the right lessons about that and go, okay, yeah, this is Star Wars, this is Marvel, this is DC, this is fucking anything. That doesn't mean we can't make a beautiful story that makes sense in our universe, but also is incredibly powerful and genuine art. And I will never stop singing the praises of everyone who worked on these, on Rogue One and/or Season 1 and 2, because it's genuinely some of the best we've got from a connected universe, and it's proven what Star Wars can be. And also, I think, for once and all, it's proven that art is not only inherently political, but pretending it isn't worsens the product.
Yeah. Like, I don't know, I agree with that. And it's like something I think this also as well, for Star Wars in particular, it proves there is amazing stories that when done well can be in the Star Wars universe and not have Jedis or like okay, there is technically Sith in this trilogy because Darth Vader briefly shows up in Rogue One, but for the most part there is no Jedi or Sith except for the little bits in Rogue One and like the mention of the Force and stuff. But like, it shows that there's so many stories in this world that can be told without that stuff, because Star Wars is more than that. It is a lot of the political stuff.
I think as Star Wars fans, we're in a very precarious spot right now. Because I think everyone understands that we need to move away from the same 20 characters that George Lucas focused on in the prequels and the original trilogy. But at the same time, some people are scared of moving away from that and they think it's no longer Star Wars. And I don't understand how George Lucas has created such an expansive universe while he was still heavily involved. And we think that just sitting with these 12 characters over a 40-year period is all there is to tell. It's like, no, we've got like Skeleton Crew and Andor are complete polar opposites in every way. The storytelling, the stakes of the situation, how mature the themes are. Yet they both scream Star Wars from every pore of their body. And this is what we need the creatives to do. And as fans, this is what we need to be more patient with. Is instead of going, that's not Star Wars, that's not Star Wars, you let them make these things. And if something doesn't feel like Star Wars to you, you can ignore that stuff. But we need to get the creators focused more on like individual stories within the universe rather than everything connecting to the 9 big films.
Do you know what I've somewhat realized from Andor? Because I've, for the longest time, and I'm on this podcast, have been like, we need to move away from the Skywalker era. Like, I want them to move away from it. But like, actually, Andor is slap bang in the middle of this and massively tied into it. And actually, what it's made me realize is, myself included in this, the people that like started saying we need to move away from the Skywalker like era was after the sequels. And I don't actually think, I'm realizing now, it was never an issue with it being in the Skywalker era. The issue that actually was there was the story they told in the sequels was just a cookie cutter replica of the original trilogy.
Yeah.
If they just told something new and a really good new story, but still tied with those characters that we all knew and loved, it would have been perfect. Because Andor's done that with some of the characters we've known since Rogue One and the bigger picture, like Mon Mothma, etc. They've still tied it in with characters we know, but told a new story that we didn't know, and brought in new characters that now you look at the overarching story and I'm like, well, fuck yeah, the rebellion never would have existed without Luthen. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
Like, there's characters now from Andor that have so much weight and importance now we've had their story on the bigger picture. Like, there's so many things. Like, it's funny, I saw someone compare, they're like, when you look at it now, we've had this story added into things. It's like, Han wouldn't have been able to be the smuggler turned does things for good, helps the right people. He was able to run because Andor, or he could walk that path because Andor ran that path.
Yeah.
Like,
and you know what? A lot of people are like, oh, but this kind of like tonally makes the original trilogy feel a bit weird because they're a lot more hopeful. And the way I've chosen to kind of adopt that is kind of what we see in the last 3 episodes, where they're kind of already erasing Luthen. Is they've chosen to erase them dark parts that were necessary for the rebellion to take root, because no one can feel like they're the good guys when they know how many good guys they've had to kill to get there.
Well, yeah, this is what we said last week.
Like,
right?
the rebellion we see in A New Hope cannot be directly linked to the death of Lonnie. Because that's not how that rebellion does business. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, the way these last 3 episodes wrap up the idea of the story of Andor and Rogue One was the dirty, gritty, horrible work of the rebellion that you can easily sell as terrorism.
Yeah.
And the stuff you see in A New Hope is what that dirty work allows to take root, which is people seeing the injustice of the Empire and fighting back directly against the military with no risk to civilian life.
Yeah, and it's like we said last week, it's Luthen put in the dirty work knowing he would never get the rewards from Yavin and the rebellion. He knew they would never like him, but he was doing what they couldn't, so they can be the
Yeah.
hope, and that's why it works. And the rebels that we get, they they're essentially their first mission was the whole Death Star, like getting them plans, and all the sort of final people, a lot of the people that were still tied to that dirty beginnings, sacrificed themselves for the plans, and
Yeah.
then they were able to like take that and run with it. And it's this thing of like all these people we've had in Andor, all these stories had to happen to then allow, like you say, allow the rebels to form and to realize there is hope to try and fight back. Like that whole thing that they've weaved into the story of like the line of rebellions are built on hope, and how they managed to weave it so well into how it got passed to Andor, how Andor then said it to Jin, and then Jin says it in Rogue One to the council, and then obviously that ends up in the films. Like things like that are why this story was so, like this series was so great, because they respected what they were leading up to and found ways to respectfully weave in the origins of those things.
Yeah.
Uh,
And the beauty of it is, right, a lot of people could argue that Andor doesn't have enough of like the Force is always watching to it. But I also disagree with that when we see like the Force healer on the base. She
it's
knows
there.
Cassian matters.
Yeah.
What she doesn't realize is you can very easily make the argument that the Force directed and protected Cassian to do what he needed to do to get the Death Star plans and get them to safety, knowing that that would coincide with Luke, who was the only person who could make the shot necessary to destroy the Death Star.
Mm-hmm.
You could literally very easily make the argument that that's all like the Force's plan to bring balance.
Yeah. And it's also
And it works so nicely.
through Rebels and the anime series, like we learn that the Force is connected to everyone. It's just like stronger in some, and it's just like there were always things in this like second season where they started weaving in that the Force is still around, whether people believe in it at this point or not. But yeah, like I mean, the way Luthen's story ended, like I'd already seen that episode last week when we were talking, and I was like, I was trying so hard not to let anything in, because it's like his line of "You're too late, the rebellion's flown away. There's a whole galaxy now ready to disgust you." Like that is what we've been saying of this idea that he put in all that dirty work so that like the rebellion now spread everywhere. There is no stopping it. It's already been rooted into the galaxy because of the work he did. And I just loved like the way his story wrapped up to it, where Dedra thinks she's finally got him. She's finally got that win that she's been chasing for 2 seasons. She's caught this big bad guy, and it's like, no, you're too late. We're already one step ahead of you. Like, I delayed you long enough that the rebellion has had time to grow.
The beauty of that scene is, I genuinely think, one of the best scenes I've seen, from writing to the scoring to the acting from Skarsgård, and I forget the Dedra's actress name. Phenomenal acting. A lot of people have been dissecting the language, and when she goes, "Are they all legitimate?" And he's like, "Only 2 things here of questionable validity." A lot of people, like, he's talking about him and her because they're both lying at the time.
Yeah. That I hadn't even
And
thought that was, yeah.
yeah, and it's beautiful, and this back and forth, and it goes back to what brought Cassian and Luthen together with the transponder thing.
Yeah.
And like you say, she thinks she's caught him, and she's confident that she's going to be able to torture the information out of him. And because in her mind and in the Empire's mind, they're so important they could never take their own lives. But Luthen's like, there is no line I won't cross to see the Empire fall, and that includes I'll kill myself. I don't give a fuck. I've done my job. I
It's
ain't gonna let you
also
get
like
anything out of me.
she's so confident that the Empire is just always in control. From her point of view, they just completely dismantled Gorman as they intended to. So as far as they're aware, they still think they have full control over this thing, and like that, she's like, "Oh, I finally caught you, and now that's it. Like, you're gonna end up. I'm gonna have my time to torture you." And like you say, not thinking that they would be as reckless as to take their own life.
Yeah.
But yeah, that whole and then like Claire then how obviously being the one to go kill him, essentially cut him off from life support. I love that they were like, oh, this was
A three-man team.
three man team, and it's like the fact that Claire is so badass that, and it's like, yeah, that is why the rebels won, because they were able to act in such small numbers that the Empire could only believe that it was large numbers of people doing this.
And I've got to be honest, my favourite part of the last three was absolutely when we get to hear, I forget the guy's name from the first season, talking through his manifesto again.
Oh, yes.
And we see that the Empire's got hold of it, and even he's playing it, and he's like, it's out there, it's everywhere, we can't stop it, it's going too far, too fast. And, like, you know, I ranted and raved about that manifesto after season 1. I thought it was phenomenal. So to see it come back and go, that moment, which at the time we were like, oh, he's died before he can get it out there. It's like, no, as he literally says, freedom is the natural state. Anything else is abhorrent and wrong and not right, and it will find a way to be out there. And the fact that his manifesto manages to find its way out there to the point where even the Empire are like, what the fuck, we've got to stop this, is amazing. And seeing how the Empire sweeps up anyone who doesn't do their job perfectly,
well, yeah,
just goes to show again that they're creating their own worst enemy.
That whole final moments for Partagast, where he's, like you say, he's listening to this manifesto, and for him, he's listening to that as like, I've failed at my job, knowing as well that failure isn't allowed.
Knowing the cost of that failure.
Yeah. Knowing the cost of his failure to stop this. And like, obviously that other Imperial guy comes and he asks for a moment for his, and the most subtle, like no words said, but that little just moment where there's two guards are stood out the door, he comes out, and obviously you hear the blaster go off, and he literally just raises his hand because he knows, or he in that moment knew as he was leaving that room, he understood what was about to happen, I believe. And it's like he knows in himself, he's like, he's respecting him to allow him to have this out.
Yeah, exactly.
But like that, stuff like that is what makes this show so good. Like there's those subtle little things that in the like other shows would just not do.
Especially for how intense the last 3 episodes are, they don't rush anything. They let moments linger. And this is something that I think we've kind of briefly spoken about the trend in like TV and cinema where you get more cuts now, and like it's a lot faster paced. And when it happens where something takes its time a little bit, you feel it a lot more, and you find yourself waiting. And it's a bit of tangent, but stick with me. There's a joke in Brooklyn Nine-Nine where Terry is explaining to Santiago that as a sergeant, you know you have their respect when you can take a moment, and then he pauses, and he waits, and he waits, and then when you keep talking, everyone is still paying attention. And it's basically show that when people respect you, they're going to wait to hear what you have to say, even if you take a little break. And that's what this show literally does. It allows you their moments to breathe, knowing that it's got its claws so deep into you that they don't stop talking for a second and you're just straight to your phone. You're sat there going,
yeah,
and you're just waiting patiently for it. And that, I think, shows the masterful writing, direction, everything of the show. The fact that at no point does something stop happening for a second. I'm like drifting away. I'm like, yeah, I'm here. I don't want to miss a thing. It's a mastercraft. You know when something hits with me, I really can't praise it highly enough, and I'm in the exact same situation with this. It is simply phenomenal.
There's so many
I've told Jenna she needs
things.
to go back and watch season 1 and 2.
There's so many.
She watched Rogue One and enjoyed it with me when it came out. I was like, you need to give these a chance. You'll really, really enjoy them.
There's so many things, and like seeing all the interviews and stuff since the finale's come out, where they're obviously asking more of the deeper questions and stuff. It's things like you mentioned the score is so great in this, but like something I kind of, it's one of those things where you subconsciously had noticed it, but until someone says it, you don't really realize. There wasn't really throughout all of Andor, they never used like orchestral music.
No, which is very Star Wars to use orchestral music as well.
Except for these last couple of episodes, where on purpose, these last three, they slowly started mixing it in and blending it in, because it all built up to the orchestral that then plays at the beginning of Rogue One. And that was all to add into this like lead up, and like that third and final episode with that final walk, just like all those, like, and it leading directly up to what we know comes next. I mean, we got more K2. Fucking loved K2.
Alan Tudyk is a masterful actor. We've known this for a while. Seeing, I think I sent you the TikTok of him doing the actual motion capture for K2SO on the bridge.
Yes.
I've always, even though I don't fully understand what it takes to do it, I always try to make sure I approach anyone doing mocap work with a lot of respect. Because just because I don't understand it doesn't mean it's not difficult. But actually, like, understanding K2SO as a character, seeing it with K2SO first, and then seeing his performance, I'm like, oh my god, he was like, even the walk he's got going on and like the swagger to it, it's got that K2SO feel to it. And like, obviously, a lot of credit to the animators for capturing his swagger and bringing it into K2, but phenomenal work from him to give them so much to work with. And it's just like this beautiful kind of cacophony of everyone understanding that their job matters to making this work and giving it 110%. They're like, the weakest link will cause this to fail, so I will not be that weakest link, and as a result you end up with just this brilliance from top to bottom.
Yeah, I mean, seeing him in the mocap suit with the stilts on, and then like the shots where like he's in the ship and it shows him like do the slump, and then it cuts to K2 when he does the slump, and it's like, yeah, they've captured him perfectly of his performance, and he's like fully is K2.
Yeah,
he has said that like he's done. He doesn't think he's like he's had enough. I think he's said he's gonna step back now. He doesn't want to do more droid stuff or anything. Like, this is
fair.
I know. I'm just like, oh, but just find some way to give us more K2. I know there isn't, because we know all of K2's story, but there's just there's so many things from these final 3 episodes that we could just talk forever. But
I think the big takeaway is, let talented people make art together. It literally, I know it makes it sound so simple, but as like the money making people and the people who worry about the budgets, that should be their mindset when they go into a board meeting. What talented people do we already have on contract or are looking for work? Okay, lock them in a room together until they are ready to show us something. It will be worth it. And it just pays off time and time again.
It's like, I mean, we've said it before, but the fact that they've lent more practical. When he got asked about, apparently it's not that like he dislikes the volume. He's like, I've always shot in camera. And he's like, when you work on the volume, you have to do post-production first, because obviously you need it all for the screens. But when you're shooting camera, you do it after. So it's like, if you're not planned to do the volume, it's the complete reverse workflow. So it's not really easy to just like
Not
switch between
natural
them.
unless you're used to it.
Well, and like if you filmed like 70% you're filming in camera, you're like, oh, we could use the volume for this. You're not set up to do that. So it's like I just went into the things I know, and we've said we think practical for Star Wars especially is part of its core.
That definitely something feels more Star Wars when you know there is a practical underlying there that they enhance with visual effects to whatever degree is actually irrelevant. But there are no matter what, there are times where you can tell there was something physically there versus just a tennis ball.
Yes.
And when the thing is physically there in some way, you can feel it, and it gives it more of a Star Wars vibe within the Star Wars universe. It feels right for there to be something. And like don't get me wrong, I know Disney will never allow it to be that obvious, but I don't care if it is obviously a fucking puppet. Like genuinely, the next Muppets film should be a remake of. Should be like, you know how the Muppets used to do their films where they have like one human and the rest are Muppets. Do a Star Wars that way, and it will fucking slap.
I mean, they have tried, haven't they? I would say to use more puppet stuff again.
Yeah, and that's why it's starting to look better.
Yeah, and it's the practical. It just oozes more Star Wars. It's just
Absolutely.
this, and I fully recommend. Like, and obviously I've said it to you loads, but for anyone that hasn't gone back and rewatched Rogue One, it's just crazy rewatching that now. And how it just puts a fresh angle on so many lines, so many things said and decisions made. You're like, with the added context we have now, obviously they didn't know this context when they made it, but it was able to change the context slightly and add more depth to a film that has been out for 10 years. Like, it's wild.
I completely agree.
Yeah. I mean, I fucking love the show. It's so good.
Hey, don't forget to like and subscribe. The Last of Us.
Yeah, another great episode.
So we basically got I don't want to call it a filler episode, but non-linear episode we'll call it. It wasn't an episode finishing off from where we were last time. It kind of fills in the gaps from the first season to now, jumping through each of Ellie's birthdays for the last few years to kind of give us a timeline of what's been going on and how Ellie and Joel kind of drifted.
Yeah, we find out why they fell out. And then we get the porch scene, which everyone had been talking about, which, although we didn't know what that entailed, we were still sure that this scene was going to come just with the way that they'd presented it in the show. I really enjoyed getting to see like the birthdays, the different things Joel had done, and like this sort of extra depth we got to see between their characters of post, like what went down. And like obviously her eventually confronting him about the hospital.
There's a weird kind of beauty to this episode because we can't help it. We pin everything within the realm of our morality. So we cannot physically understand the decision Joel had to make at the end of the first season.
No.
It's apparently, and obviously we've not played the game, apparently it's very heavily implied in the game that the surgery had a good chance of working and saving people. But the notion that it would never have worked has come about afterwards because people who understand medicine in the real world were like, you can't treat a fungal infection that way, that wouldn't work. And people adopted that as meaning that Ellie would have died for nothing, when in actuality it was just people who wrote the game didn't understand medicine enough, which is fine. When you're writing a story, you don't need to be an expert about what you're writing about.
No.
So the understanding is that Joel may have actually like cost us a save of the world.
Yes.
But the notion is about him coming to terms with having lost a daughter, this found daughter idea, and not being willing to lose another one, and how do you live with that? And season 2 is kind of addressing the idea of, well, he doesn't live with that. He's just trying his best. He knows he made a decision, and he's not trying to force anyone else to live with the decision he made. He's accepted that he's going to live with that himself.
Yeah.
Because he gets his daughter back.
And this week we also got that little added context from like flashback to when he was a kid, and he like confronted his dad saying, "Don't beat on Tommy," and his dad tells him about the time his granddad.
That was a very interesting take on like the abuse cycle.
Yeah.
And the dad realizing he was a part of the problem, but just kind of going, I tried to be better. Maybe I wasn't better enough.
But like that is often like the case of like parents always try to do better than their parents, and like adding
and that is all as people we can do.
Yeah, and adding that little context in, then we get all these like jump forwards, adds to that point of like when Ellie does confront him, and he like Joel says, "I was just trying to do my best." In his mind, like you can understand where he was coming from a bit, and I think that's also Ellie understands where he like what he's saying, which is why she's willing to try and forgive him.
And I think that's a beautiful scene. So I don't know if I can forgive you for what you've done, but I care about you so much that I want to at least give you a fair chance at forgiveness. I want to try and like meet you halfway so that hopefully we can move past this. And that I think is like a beautiful sentiment to go, I value you so much, even though you've done this thing which might be unforgivable. I want to try and forgive you anyway. And I see why people are worried about that scene potentially being missed out, because that is quite potent. Well, it was interesting to see the Eugene story as well.
Yeah. Him being a cop, and then it's like, oh, sorry, yes, Eugene in the woods. I'm getting mixed up. Yes, seeing that, and I was like, I knew. I was like, Joel, why did you promise? You're going to break a promise here. And it's like, I know he already was getting a bit confused, and it clearly was started to kick in a bit quicker than Ellie knew it was. And I do think it's one of those grey areas where it's like, yes, Joel could have kept trying to get him back to camp. But in Joel's mind, he did what he thought was the kind of thing for everybody involved, of not having to face your loved one turn into a zombie, because there's a chance they go back to camp and he's already turned, and then it's just, you're just showing her husband is now a zombie. And it's like, well, that's...
I think, although I understand why Ellie was upset, and we also have to understand that most of Ellie's pain came from the fact that Joel lied, and she realised that she couldn't tell he was lying, which made her doubt anything he's ever said to her.
I think... I don't know. No, see, I think in that moment when obviously then he broke the promise, and then she's like, in her head, she realised, okay, that was you lying, and I've seen that before when we got out of the Fireflies. It's like, it unlocked that thing of like, I know what you look like now when you lie, and I've seen that before. I think that's what happened with Ellie.
But I do genuinely think with Eugene, Joel did the right thing. The guy couldn't be taken back to camp. It was too dangerous. He had to try and give him a respectful moment as he could. And he gave the wife the story he thought would give her the most comfort. Once again, it shows Joel in a complex light, because who gives him the power to make these decisions about what's the best for people?
Yeah.
But at the same time, in a very human way, he's just trying to do what he thinks is the best on a quite a serious level, right? It's not as simple as him lying and saying there's no donuts left because he's worried about his dad's cholesterol. It is a case of, I can't bring this man back because it's legitimately dangerous, but I don't want to make his last moments more painful than they need to be. His wife doesn't need to know that he was crying and wailing and desperate to see her.
Yeah.
It's better for her to remember him as like at peace in the final moments and like understanding of what was going on. But it is a case of what's better, a beautiful lie or an ugly truth.
Mm.
But a phenomenal episode. I loved
Yeah.
the trip to the museum.
Oh yeah, that was so good.
Really, really cool. And it's difficult. What I will say is, and I know we've not played the games, and maybe it means we don't have the right level of emotional attachment, but I'm going to say it anyway because I'm a Marvel fan, I'm a Star Wars fan. I love a lot of franchises where people have very strong opinions and get angry about them. It's never stopped me voicing my opinion before, so it's not going to do now. People saying Bella Ramsey is a bad actress are morons.
Yeah.
Now, they can maybe dislike the casting for Ellie. I don't see it, but I don't have a frame of reference.
Mm.
Saying she's a bad actress is laughable. You cannot like a performance and someone can still be a good actor at the same time.
Yeah.
It's like what we've said a million times about a film can be good and not fun. A fun film can be bad, and it can be both bad and not fun, and it can be good and not fun. And like you can get any combinations.
Yeah.
Good and fun don't directly correlate always. Bella Ramsey can be a big good actor, and you can not like their
Choice of
performances of Ellie without diminishing their acting ability in any way.
Yeah.
And I think people forget that sometimes. I genuinely believe Bella Ramsey's performance in season 1 and season 2 contains some of my favourite acting I've seen in a little while. And I think people are being weird because they feel a particular way about Ellie's characterization in the game.
Yeah, I
And
think
it comes again back to that idea of this is a different adaptation. You need to understand it has to be a little bit different, otherwise it is creatively bankrupt. Like when you look at like How to Train Your Dragon's live action, you've got everyone losing their mind because it's just a shot-for-shot remake. It's like, okay, so what's the point of it? What would be the point of the show if it's just a shot-for-shot remake of the game?
Yeah. No, you're right, and I do think it's fair that probably the majority of these people that are like really throwing hate towards her for like her acting ability are all people probably that are just upset that their game that they loved hasn't been perfectly captured as they see it in their mind. And it's like they're a small subset. I think the majority of people are really enjoying her performance and everything about it. It's just, yeah, those loud few that are like, probably safe to assume that the game is there. They were played the story first, and they're not happy that this is being done slightly differently. But there is never going to be. You can never please everybody.
No.
So yeah, but this episode was great. And I really did enjoy it. I'm looking forward to where Ellie goes next with hunting these wolf down. I don't know. This is like, I don't think you have it in news. No, you don't have it in newsletter. There's a rumor that season 3 is going to focus on Abby's story.
Yes, and apparently the show will now likely be 4 seasons.
Which I'm obviously I have no horse in this race because I didn't play the games. I'm fine with that from a story. Like, that might be what the game people are a bit annoyed about. Maybe it fixes that for them because you're gonna get to see that side of it. Maybe though, like I can understand if they were to say, I would have preferred Abby's story first, then give us Ellie's, which I get. But you've also got to remember, like, a lot of people that love season 1 haven't played the game, and you've got to make sure they stay invested, and that sometimes is going to mean make the main characters get to go first, sort of thing.
Absolutely, it's a difficult one for sure, but I'm enjoying the show and I'm curious to see where it goes. Gamechanger.
Somehow, once again, I am here to say that Sam Reich has surpassed expectations. We are currently I believe 4 for 4, and could say best episode of the season.
I'm going to go for a really hot one here.
Oh.
This might be a top 3 episode, period.
Oh.
Now, I don't actually know if we've discussed this much on here. I doubt we would have, because it doesn't make a lot of sense. I adore stand-up comedy.
Mm-hmm.
I have spent many a night watching stand-up specials wherever I can find them. One of my favourite things to do when I was a bit younger, my dad, and I guess me as well, were massive Lee Evans fans.
Yeah.
And my dad had a load of his old stadium tours on DVD.
All right.
And we'd put them on, and it'd be a 90-minute show, and it would take us maybe 3 hours to get through it. Because we would both be laughing so hard, we would have to pause it very regularly and get our breath back. And that has started a lifelong obsession with stand-up comedy. Whenever Jenna's like, oh, I saw tickets for this thing, do you want to go to it? It's a comedy show. I'm like, yes, absolutely. I love comedy as an art form. I think it is so beautiful and pure. And in a very sad and very real way, this episode made me realise something. I, for a long time, have convinced myself that one day I'll do an open mic night. And I might still do it. But I was like, crowd work seems like anyone could do it. Like, you can pick it up and it's pretty... Like, it's like you don't have to necessarily have any jokes prepared. If you're witty, you can get through. And this episode is literally designed to be a love letter to the art of crowd work.
Yep.
Yes, they gave the comedians the best possible room to do crowd working because it was a bunch of interesting people, right? Yeah. But they didn't know any of these people's stories. They got that information at the same time as us.
Yep.
And as an audience, we go, well, that's brilliant information. Funny, man, you better make this funny. And then they've got to deliver for 40 minutes straight. It is, I genuinely think, the first time I've ever seen a program that not only makes you laugh because the comedy is so good, but makes you sit there and go, wow, I have such a new level of respect for comedians. Now, I always respected comedians, or I always tried to, because I know how difficult being a stand-up comedian must be. But there are a lot of people who probably think being a stand-up comedian is more luck than anything else. So I really hope some of them kinds of people see this and kind of go, oh my God, these guys are brilliant. They're so fast here. They're so witty. It is a genuine masterpiece of TV. And I need this to become a Sam Says type thing where every season or every other season, they get 3 stand-up comedians come on and do it. I'd seen Josh and John Marco on like TikTok before doing crowd work. So I saw them and I was like, oh, I know they're good. This should be a good episode. But this episode blew me away. Genuinely one of my top 3 episodes of all time.
It took me a little moment to recognize who they... Like, I didn't know them, but it's one of those things where I'm like, I've definitely seen them somewhere, and I like obviously pieced together probably TikTok seeing some coming. Because realistically, I don't really... I haven't really watched any comedy for a long time. Probably the last like stand-up comedy shows that I used to always put on regularly was Live at the Apollo when that was on TV. I feel like we both grew up through that era.
Do you know what my go-to was?
Great stand-up
Russell
comedy.
Howard's Good News.
Russell Howard was also great.
And then you had the extended one where he'd get an up-and-coming stand-up comedian come to a little set at the end of the show.
Yes.
That is genuinely... That was my every single night on BBC Three for about 5 years. Russell Howard's Good News. I'd watch that. Let it go straight into like 4 hours of Family Guy and American Dad. That is why I am the way I am.
I feel like, obviously, America has a very strong comedy scene. Like that is very big over there. I think, I feel like British comedy is a lot of crowd work.
The British comedy circuit absolutely is.
Type of comedy we're all very sarcastic humor over here. So
I think
a lot of it
the American comedy circuit is very crowd work. But once you go from the circuit to being a known comedian, crowd work stops pretty quickly. Because the crowds get so big so quickly, you can't really do crowd work easily anymore. So I think the difference is with British stand-up comedians, they still do a bit of crowd work.
Yeah.
even as they get to like
The
middle
big.
and large size. But in America, once you're like middle size, a lot of crowd work stops pretty quickly. It's
That's
only
fair.
in like comedy clubs you're doing crowd work. So I don't think Americans who don't go to comedy clubs are as exposed to crowd work.
Fair. But yeah, like this, I haven't really watched much comedy. So like those two, I was like, must be TikTok because that's where I've only seen comedy of the past few years. I think all three of them were phenomenal picks.
And that was all slightly different enough as well that you got to see
Yes,
how crowd work can work no matter who
they all
like
had their own
their
little like
their
style and
style.
vibe. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
phenomenal.
fully with you though that this needs to be basically this needs to be the next Make Some Noise because Make Some Noise was
I'll
an
just do this as its own series.
yes, it was
Yeah, I'm down.
each episode like one you could get some brand new up and coming comedians, give them a chance, drop out. That is exactly the sort of thing Dropout would do. You can get like have some episodes where you get some like bigger names on. You can have episodes where it has to be crowd work. You could have one where it's heckling, how they manage hecklers.
Also, kind of change it to like a stand-up comedian like Gauntlet and make a
Yeah.
season 3 stand-up comedians
Well,
doing different challenges.
not even like just each episode can be different sets of comedians, but like just a bit like Gamechangers where each episode it changes slightly. Just be like, oh well, we've got 3 comedians that are known to be good against hecklers, and we've got a crowd that's gonna heckle them like mad.
Yeah.
And like you could there's so many things that like new ways to show off comedy skills that you could do there. And like I do think you're right. Like it was one of their top Game Changer episodes.
Phenomenal.
And it
And
needs
once
spinning
again,
off.
yeah, once again they've gone, we've got the bigger set, we're gonna fucking use it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which I adored. But this episode had some great moments as well, right?
Mm.
The French joke with the paleontologist cracked me up.
So good.
The adult diaper lady, and then Jean Marco getting so I have to know more that he interrupts. He's like, "I'm so sorry, I have questions."
Honestly,
and by far
evolved.
my favourite was when they had to do the percentage bits.
Oh yeah.
And he goes, "Who here's played D&D?" And I'm like, "My brother in Christ, this is a Dropout 20 show. What?
Yeah.
Sorry, this is a Dropout show. The amount of D20 fans in the room right now. This is the worst. If he'd asked that question to one of his normal crowds, 10% probably would have been perfect.
Yeah, I love
this. Is not the room for that question.
The meta commentary after he did that of like, oh, he's massively underappreciated the amount of Dropout fans in this room. And then when they did the wages one, it was, and they've massively underestimated the amount of Dropout fans. Oh yeah, there's so many great moments. And like their obsession that the new older man that was the nudist was just so game for their questions. And they were like, they were asking like the riskier questions and having fun with it, and he was so on board. Honestly,
I loved the way they made this a game show though, because like don't get me wrong, they could have just released 40 minutes of this is an interesting crowd. We have 3 comedians go, and I'd have loved it because I love stand-up comedy. That would have been wrong, but the way they played it off, so they did a round and. Like, obviously, you spot the guy with the beard and the triplets. And after I spotted that, because there's one bit where you see the guy with the beard and you see the triplets behind. And I was like, this crowd has got some stuff going on. That dude's got a wacky beard. There's some triplets there. They've got some plants in this crowd. And then they reveal their shirts. And I'm like, oh my God, they've like chosen the best crowd possible. And then the double reveal of the red shirts of like risky subjects. I'm like, this is phenomenal. I loved
the red shirts one. I forget which one it was. It was one of them they asked, and it was like, "Oh, I almost got killed by a serial killer," and then just like you can see when they asked some of the risk ones, and they came out with something that's like, "Okay." There was one where he went, "Okay, someone else," because he was like, "I don't know how to handle that without."
Oh no, that was Jean Marco for one of the white shirts. He went to a guy and he said, "It says to ask about your job. What's your job?" And he's like, "I'm a magician." He was like, "Oh yeah, okay, moving on."
But that's the thing. Like, there was somewhere it was like, "Oh, these are like either really dull things that maybe someone can find, like, pull out enough information. There's something funny there, or you're just going to be like, oh, I don't want to touch that subject because that's too dangerous. But like, yeah, the crowd was great. The way they did the points, I loved that Sam kept taking a point away and giving him a point back.
Such
That
a good
was
bit.
so.
And like, do you know what I actually loved about this episode more? Don't get me wrong, Sam never like hides how much he's enjoying anything, which I love. As a host, he's like fully like they're experiencing it as well.
Yeah.
Him cracking up at the stand-up comedians was perfect because it just shows how much he reveres the art form of stand-up comedy as well. He's like, you guys are brilliant. Thank you so much. It's great. And if this video gets 10,000 likes, me and Hori will do an open mic night.
Whoa.
Yeah, I've signed us both up. Hori, 10,000 likes. I will drag you there myself. It'll be fine. I'll go first. But yeah, genuinely one of my, without like thinking too hard, I'd say it's probably a top 3 episode. Either spinning it off and tweaking it slightly,
I would be so down for them to spin it off.
Just make it like a Sam Says one where they do one episode every season perfectly. But that is, I don't know how long they can keep this up with this season. They've not had a single miss yet, and they've dropped 2 all-time great episodes in 1 year later, and this one being genuine all-timers. They've got their due a stinker, no? A little bit of a gambler's fallacy here. They're due a massive.
They're due one, but I actually think this could be like a clean season.
It's gonna be like when someone's like. Oh, I won't say that artist. When some artist would release an album and you'd be like, no skips, all hits.
Yeah.
Is that what this season's going to be?
Potentially. There's like my only reason that I would lean to I want this to be spun off, like make some noise, is because it allows them to have more episodes where they can showcase more comedians.
Yeah, I do get that, but I think it would require a lot of tweaking because getting a crowd large for
multiple times and different things. Rough. Yeah, and like make some noise, took some tweaks to get that show to be more. But like, there's
a long running concept there for sure.
I'm now probably the most excited for behind the scenes because know there's going to be some phenomenal. Of the crowd work that was cut, and it's like, I hope they show us some of like the bombs that. Or like something they said which was a bit, that's a little too risky, we can't really get away with that.
What was it? The fucking serial killer lady, when he just goes, right, let's get into it, where do you stand on capital punishment? And Sam's just like, no. Brilliant. He's like, what? She fucking mentioned it.
Yeah, no, but this behind the scenes has got some potential bangers in it.
Stand-up comedians are phenomenal. I won't say too much. I don't know if the person listens to this. I'll be gentle just to be safe, but I have tickets for a comedy event in the not too distant future, which I'm very excited for. And I just any opportunity to go and watch stand-up comedy, people take it. There is, I guarantee it, a stand-up comedy club within half an hour's travel from you that will charge like £10 a night. Go do it, I promise you. You do that once a month over the course of a year, you will find so many stand-up comedians that genuinely leave you with a pain in your side from laughing so much. It's so worth it. I will never stop loving this episode. Sam Reich, you're a fucking genius.
Honestly. And, once again, if this show does not win some fucking awards
I'm going to become so violent. In a, nice, peaceful, fun, chill way. And last thing on my list, Final Destination Bloodlines, the new Final Destinations film. So getting ready for it, I just decided I wanted to go see it. Unlimited card. I was like, fuck it, we will go see it.
Yeah,
Me and Jenna watched the first 2 Final Destination films on Netflix. We'd never seen one before. So we're like, fuck it, let's see what it's about. We'd already booked the tickets where we were going, but I was like, let's see if it's even our kind of thing. First one we pretty much enjoyed. I got the vibe, I liked it. Second one I did not enjoy. I thought it was a bit shit. And then we got busy and we had to wait for the film. I fucking loved this film. They got the balance of oh my god, that's so fucking gross and scary to oh my god, that's fucking ridiculous. Perfect. a big thing for anyone who's seen the Final Destination films, I know, is they like to use the music as like a foreshadowing tool.
Mm-hmm.
I think they did that the best in this film out of the ones I've seen. It felt really good, and it felt like they went back to the first film and everyone involved in the process rewatched it, and they distilled the essence of what was
Yeah.
good about it, and then just fine-tuned the process. Really, really enjoyed it. If you liked any of the Final Destination films, I'd say it's worth giving a go.
Okay.
I really, really enjoyed it. I believe the expectation is this is going to be the last Final Destination film.
Yeah.
And if it is, it's a brilliant way to end off. Really enjoyed it. If you want to go see a film and you're not sure what, it's definitely worth price of admission, in my opinion. Yeah, I think that's all that's really there to say about it. The gore is manageable. The kills are the perfect amount of wacky that I want from a film like this. When the entire concept is death's out for revenge, you expect shit to get a bit weird. And I think they kind of got that level of, oh, come the fuck on, versus, oh my god, that's really funny. Death was not pulling his punches. And again, compared to some of the other films, in the other films, like you try and play the guessing game of what Death is going to do.
Yeah.
Is it like, because they do a lot of like establishing shots of showing you like all of the dangerous things in the room, and then you have to try and piece together what's going to happen. I had the most fun like playing along with this film.
Got you.
And like, oh, I see. I think I see. Is that what they're doing? Oh my god, that's what they're going to do. Like, it was genuinely quite enjoyable to play along at home, I felt.
Was there any new generational trauma deaths, like
any
the log
new
truck?
Generational trauma?
You know, like the log truck with the whole idea of the log.
I don't want to spoil anything, but we did get a return of our friend the log truck.
Okay, that explains why
in a new and inventive way.
They had it on some of the advertising before the film came out.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's because it's the most iconic part of the franchise.
Well, there's a whole generation is like, we will not drive behind a truck full of logs because.
Do you know what's really funny though? So me and Jenna had never seen Final Destination before this.
Yeah.
But even we have that thing about log trucks. So like that permeated the zeitgeist so incredibly hard that everyone was uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I will say, even though MRI machines, which are obviously giant magnets, I've always been a bit scared of because they are giant magnets, it did increase that fear a bit further.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I've seen, very cool.
in other shows and stuff where I've seen MRI.
Oh yeah, MRI schemes are scary, yeah.
And it's like,
but yeah, really good film. If you enjoy horror films, worth a watch, in my opinion.
Cool.
Right, our character profile this week.
Yes.
We've got another member of the Thunderbolts this week. We'll be covering Ghost.
Okay.
A top data engineer working on Ghost tech that would allow colossal amounts of data to be stored by making them intangible but functional, decided to infuse himself with the technology, making him the Ghost. Ghost first appeared in Iron Man number 219 in March 1987. After his girlfriend was killed by his bosses, after he'd made them very rich with his inventions, Ghost, whose real identity still remains a mystery, decided to steal their technology and tweak it ever so slightly, allowing him to make himself invisible and intangible. After doing this, he hunted down everyone involved until he'd killed them all. Continuing to develop his physical skills alongside his technological skills until he was an expert killer. He turned his sights on becoming a full-time corporate saboteur. This led to him being hired by the likes of Roxxon Corporation, Justin Hammer, and even the Kingpin. The missions he would be sent out on would require him to destroy or steal prototypes or research around projects of interest to his various employers. This, on more than one occasion, led to him coming into conflict with Iron Man. Although he was never able to directly defeat Iron Man, he did manage to continually evade capture and act as a constant thorn in the side of technology companies around the world. When Norman Osborn rose to power and formed the Thunderbolts, Ghost was recruited to the team. However, this was with ulterior motives. He viewed Norman Osborn as a living representation of everything he hates. The power of the military, the corporate world, and politics all under one man's control. As such, Ghost hoped to use this opportunity to undermine Osborn from within. When the Thunderbolts eventually came under control of Luke Cage a little bit later, Ghost remained on the team as he felt he was finally able to help the little guy in a way he never could before. He enjoyed missions that allowed him to save and free people. This conviction, however, was put to the test when he was forced to team up with his old enemy Iron Man. It was only when Stark informed Ghost that he had restructured Stark Industries into a small independent business rather than a large multinational corporation that was beholden only to its shareholders that Ghost was able to put his grudge aside and allow them to work together. Ghost kind of based. He hates big corporations because they screw people over.
Fair.
Are his methods clean? No. However, I've just come off the back of watching Andor, so I'm kind of a bit more forgiving of dodgy methods at the minute.
Yeah.
But also a very kind of different take to what we've seen in the MCU.
Yeah.
Obviously, we've got a gender bend, which makes very little difference other than kind of correcting the wrong that in the 80s, any character who didn't have a sexual motif was a man.
Yeah.
So it didn't really change anything. They changed it so that Ghost was more of a victim of other people in the MCU and less a victim of their own self.
Right. Yeah.
And in the MCU, obviously, Ghost was infused with these horrible powers that they had no real control over and then turned into an assassin. Whereas in this way, they lost something dear to them. They became the Ghost and then they trained themselves to get revenge.
Yeah.
I think the MCU version of Ghost, while it is a bit lacking and they haven't nailed things because of how poor Ant-Man and the Wasp was, I think the concept they went with in the MCU is a little more interesting.
Yeah.
I would like to see them fuse a little bit more of the anti-corporate vibe into the MCU Ghost, though.
Yeah, we saw them sort of try to do it because obviously they were infiltrating like Pimtech.
Yeah, we'll go with Pimtech. I can't remember what the fucking name is.
But like they sort of touched on it a little bit. I guess they couldn't really have a go after Iron Man because he was a weapons, although he stopped doing weapons. It's weird. Yeah, there's some stuff they could still play with there if they want to obviously keep the character around and make more use, but it'll be interesting.
For sure. We are at a weird point in cinema history.
Potentially,
I'm going to double check this before I say this. Pause, please.
Pausing. That's kind of.
What year we? Not to make you feel old. What year?
95.
Ah, fuck. I have never lived in a world without Mission Impossible films. Granted, you only did for like a year.
I was gonna say, how long did I?
Yeah, like a year. The first Mission Impossible film came out in 1996.
And I remember it fondly.
And instantly won over the hearts of moviegoers with high stakes action, a bit of goofy like face swapping situations, and thrilling stunts, which I know have gone to the extreme in subsequent films, but for the time, and like their practical approach to stunts as well.
Yeah.
Made Tom Cruise a household name. It gave Tom Cruise the box office power and cachet to make projects that maybe wouldn't have been greenlit if not for his box office success at the Mission Impossible films. And if rumours are to be believed, this most recent Mission Impossible film, The Final Reckoning, may be the end of the franchise. I'm not convinced it will stay dead. I think we might get a bit of a hiatus, a longer break than we've had.
I don't know. I think there's probably something in, surely at this point, like there's got to be something in like contracts that they can't do a Mission Impossible without Tom Cruise.
I might be absolutely waffling. This is no way a fact. I'm pretty sure he like co-owns the rights to Mission
He
Impossible.
must.
He
So
like has ownership in it. I'm pretty sure.
I think he will want this to be the end. I think he'll be happy. I presume he'll be happy with how. Though saying that, he said in interviews that he still thinks he could do a better Mission Impossible film.
So I have a theory. We know that Tom Cruise has been grooming Glenn Powell. Grooming, not in the gross way.
Interesting choice of words.
That's the word used in like
I know,
which is kind of troubling, but it just is. He'd been basically teaching Glenn Powell everything he knows about being a superstar in the film world.
Yeah.
And like there's like the funny clip from, I think it was when the Hitman was coming out, of him turning the popcorn bucket around so the film they were there to see was showing at the front for the picture they were taking together.
Mm.
And like just being very like Tom Cruise is a weird fucking dude. Like, I'm not going to dispute that for a single second. I'm not sure I would trust him with many things. However, when it comes to making films and knowing what it takes to make films, he might be one of the most knowledgeable people currently alive.
I think that's fair.
And as a result of that, as long as people don't get indoctrinated to a certain religion that I'm not going to name because I'm scared of their legal team, I'm okay with him working with up-and-coming artists. And him working with Glenn Powell and him being very complimentary of like Michael Jordan and Ryan Coogler and Sinners means a lot. He has a lot of power. Like, I know it sounds crazy. In the last 2 years, he's only tweeted one thing not about Mission Impossible, and that was about Sinners.
Fair.
And there are people in the comments underneath that going, I wasn't going to go watch it, but if Tom says it's good, maybe it's worth watching.
Yeah, no, he
like,
has...
there is power there.
Yeah, he has a lot of sway with his presence and
I
words.
genuinely think he is going to take a step back from Mission Impossible. Give it 5 years, and he's going to try and make Glenn Powell or someone the new face of Mission Impossible, and he's going to be a secondary kind of mentor character, because I think he genuinely does want to see people succeed in film, and he's looking for the person to take over the keys to the kingdom of Mission Impossible. And by this being the final film, I think this is the final film with Ethan being the protagonist, and he is looking for his kind of protege who he's going to hand the film over to, like we almost had with like the Rocky and Creed films.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that happening. I also do wonder, because like he said, he's not done making films, he's not done making action films. But I do think, similar to you, that like I could see him being in like a mentor, older ex-action guy, so he doesn't have to do as many of the crazy big stunts. Because at the end of the day, he's going to start getting older, and there's going to come a point where he just can't.
I mean, you say he's going to stop. He's 62.
Yeah, but Hollywood does wonders.
This is the thing, right? He said in an interview as part of the press tour, he's like, I'm going to keep making films till the day I die. I 100% believe that, man. But I also believe that he's going to live to 90 years of age, and I don't see him not making another Mission Impossible film for the next 28 years.
I'm of two minds. Either he is going to end up making it, and like you say, he's going to pick someone to sort of pass the gauntlet on. Or I wonder if, like, because he's probably holds the Mission Impossible IP pretty dear to heart, that maybe he wants that nicely. It's his thing, and it's like it's got its end, and it's all that
Tied
period is done and tied up. And maybe he helps the next person that he, whether it's Glenn Powell or someone else, and helps them get their Mission
find
Impossible.
their Mission Impossible. Yeah, maybe.
And like maybe he is playing a mentor character in that action film, but like it's a new IP that then they can own and have their thing. Like he had Mission Impossible. That's the other side of it that I see. Maybe he goes down, but there is like a chance of him. He genuinely believes he is done with it, and in another 20 years, he's like, I have a really fucking good idea for a Mission Impossible film. And he's like,
that is also very possible.
I'm just
They've called this the end because right now he doesn't know what to do next. But he's going to go off because he's got there's a couple of like passion projects it seems like he's working on at the minute. I get the feeling he's going to work on them for a few years and then kind of just sit there and go, right, I'm going to rewatch all my Mission Impossible films and see what my brain comes up with. But like, there's a stunt in this one where he hangs from a biplane and like jumps from one biplane to the other. And he said, leading up to this, that was a stunt I've been wanting to do since like the second film.
Yeah.
The man's a fucking nutcase.
Yeah.
But he is a cinema god.
Yeah,
for better or worse,
can't deny it.
No. And I hope, if this is the end for Mission Impossible, I hope that he found some satisfaction in it. I hope the film delivered for the die-hard fans of it. I do want to sit down. I've seen the first 2 Mission Impossibles and one of the more modern ones. I want to go down and binge watch all of them because, I mean, it's cinema. It's history, if nothing else. If we're going to let franchises like fucking Fast and Furious get 1 million films, I may as well watch the OG that had like mostly all good films.
What if he goes and stars in the next Fast and Furious film?
You know what? I would actually believe that film's going to be a bit better if that's announced. If Tom Cruise went, I'm in the next Fast and Furious, I'd be like, okay, I might be willing to give you a chance here. Just because I respect his ability to get shit done.
Actually goes to space.
Yeah. Yeah, all of a sudden, a lot of the stupid shit they've been doing in Fast and Furious films, I become okay with if Tom Cruise is there. Because I'm like, yeah, no, that's on brand for Tom Cruise. That makes sense. That's not ludicrous. That's Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise
that tracks. Yeah, that tracks. Right, should we get into some nerdy news?
Yes.
First and foremost, we got our first poster for Percy Jackson Season 2, which is coming this December.
Yes.
Won't
lie,
we really enjoyed Season 1.
Yeah, no.
We really enjoyed season one, but we've had such a good year since that came out that we've not had time to really remember the next one's coming, which is kind of fun. It's nice not to be intently waiting for something that we ask. Like when it gets closer, we're going to be like, oh yeah, it's going to be good. But right now, there's so much good stuff that we're not like, oh, I need another fix of Percy Jackson. So that's kind of cool. Next bit is not cool. In fact, in my notes, I literally have boo written. They are apparently working on a Rambo origin film. I don't know if we've ever discussed this. I fucking adore Rambo First Blood. I think it is a pretty damn close approximation to the perfect action film.
Fair. Yeah.
We do not need an origin story.
No, we don't.
However, I am keenly aware earlier in the episode I said there's been a number of projects in recent years where we've gone, we don't need that, and then it's ended up being great. So I find myself in an awkward position. I'd rather be proved wrong than proved right in this situation.
Yes. I'm always wary of when suddenly, like, how many years is it since Rambo came out?
The first Rambo came out in what, the 90s?
Yes, I'd say it's like 20 plus years. To suddenly...
82. It's 40 years old.
Okay. So suddenly in 40 years later go, we're going to do an origin film for that film from 40 years ago. I'm a bit like, is this you just struggling to know what to do? Yeah, you want to use that IP because you think, oh, this is going to print money, but like, is this the right decision sort of thing?
And like, let's be clear here. The film makes it very clear what his origin is. He fought in Vietnam.
Yeah, so we just...
He was an
So we're gonna
expert
get a
in guerrilla
Vietnam War
warfare,
film.
fighting in Vietnam. Like, yeah, like what? You're just
We've
gonna
had
make
many
some
of them.
insane mission he did just to sell that he's a badass? You don't need to tell he's a badass. We saw him kill all them cops.
Yeah. Now we're gonna get his childhood origin.
Apparently, they're working on a Gears of War film. Yay!
Yes.
At Netflix. Boo. But it's written by the man who wrote Dune. Yay! But it's at Netflix. Boo.
Yeah, I mean, it's like
Gears of War's a pretty compelling story.
It is.
Like, there is something there.
Yeah, there's a great story in Gears of War.
I'm going to call this a hot take. I don't think it's a hot take.
No.
I don't trust any film Netflix makes.
Oh, that's not
They
a
can
hot
make
take.
some good TV.
That's ice
Like,
cold.
don't get me wrong, there are some TV shows they make which are good, but they cancel them after one season.
Yeah.
I'm yet to see a genuine Netflix film end to end. Not a film they buy the distribution rights for, like a genuine film that they've made that is good.
Yeah. We've talked many a time about video games into shows. There's very few good examples.
Mm-hmm. And as we know from last week with Josh, there is even 2 weeks ago, there's even fewer examples of good video games into films.
Yeah. So it's like, yeah, my immediate reaction is, I worry that this ends up going the Halo way. Because Gears of War,
I would agree.
while not necessarily like as big of a game maybe as Last of Us in its fan base, because they haven't really released one in a while, but like there is hardcore fans for Gears of War that if you mess with that story, you're just gonna shoot yourself in the foot. So
absolutely.
I
couldn't agree more. we will cautiously wait for more news. It looks like VFX unions are finally getting somewhere at Marvel, as they seem to have come to agreement over a deal that includes work limits and overtime pay and the benefits they were looking for. So it looks like we are finally getting somewhere with VFX artists getting the
respect,
the respect and the compensation that they deserve. It's not enough. I've not read the deal. It's still not enough. Give them more. I think for every dollar a film makes, Disney should only end up seeing 1 cent of it. I mean, the producer should only, because I understand art needs to make money to be like worthwhile for people with money, but they should accept that the ROI is teeny tiny, because the actual ROI is creating something worth creating. But it was genuinely quite nice to see some positive news about VFX unions getting somewhere,
especially VFX around Marvel as well.
Yeah, it that was a feels good man moment. I fucking love it when workers get what they deserve. That sounded really ominous in a good way. Workers' rights, not like they get what they deserve. DC and Warner Brothers are confident that they're getting the Batman 2 script any day now.
We heard that before.
I'm at a position with the Batman 2 where I'm treating it like a video game. I do not want to hear about it until it is ready and they're putting the first trailer out.
Fair.
I know it's going to take a while. I'm prepared to wait. I don't want to be reminded that I'm waiting every 6 months for the next 5 years.
It's fine, because in a couple of months we'll be fully distracted by Superman. So
yeah. I do genuinely believe this film is going to get made. I do genuinely believe this film is going to be brilliant. And I don't mean this in like a hate way. I don't want to hear about it until there's something to actually hear.
Yeah.
Because like with Cyberpunk, we were hearing about it for like 7 years. I mean, like 12 years before it came out. I don't need to be reminded about this thing that I don't get to play with yet for 5 years before it. Just remind me like a year, 6 months out so I can start getting excited. Other than that, you guys crack on and do your stuff. I will be ready and waiting when it's ready.
Fair.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles sequel. has been delayed an entire year until September 2027. It's an animated project. They take time.
Yeah.
Vector animators, once again, we'll be patiently here waiting.
Yeah, I mean, it just gives them more time. We love
Yeah, the first
one.
film was financial and critical success.
Yeah.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is an IP that never dies. They've got a couple of shows they're releasing, which is only going to increase the profile with the now younger fan base. It's absolutely fine. Take your time. As we know with like Across the Spider-Verse, and I think them films are quite similar and they're quite out there, unique art styles. It takes time to get that stuff dialed in. Take your time. We're in no rush. This is genuinely harrowing news. The Hollywood Reporter has claimed in a report from Hollywood, is claiming that the Department of Homeland Security is considering creating a game show to allow immigrants to compete for US citizenship.
Can I get what is the Declaration of Independence for 500, please?
This is the most dystopian thing. Like,
Yeah, no.
You're going to laugh so hard that I managed to make this about this. I'm excited for the Glenn Powell film coming out later this year by the director Edgar Wright. Yeah, The Running Man.
Yeah.
The concept of The Running Man is a prisoner has to run through this terrorizing death game show for his freedom. That is a 1980s dystopian sci-fi horror film concept. Man has to run and survive for freedom. We're not that far away from it with what the Department of Homeland Security is talking about here.
People, like, we joke that cyberpunk will become reality, and every month we feel one step closer to it. Like, this is the sort of thing that would be in that, where it's like you're walking around Night City and there's something on a billboard where it's like, and this week's contestants for... It's wild. I mean, yeah. The idea
What I can hope is the human rights lawyers in America
well,
get on that shit so quickly. They're like, if you even try that, we will sue the government into so much debt that Trump will go bankrupt again.
Just like playing the fucking Price is Right for a green card.
Do you know what I mean? It's insanity. These are people. They should not be belittled to entertainment just because they want a better life.
Now,
for the love of God.
Gamechangers episode.
If Sam Reich wants to do this, he gets a little bit more leeway. Fortnite has added its first interactable AI NPC.
Yep.
Darth Vader using the AI voice recreation of James Earl Jones. I hate the idea, just to start, before we even know where this goes.
Yeah.
I dislike this.
Yep, agreed.
Now, I understand James Earl Jones gave his family and Disney permission to use his voice for this exact thing for Darth Vader.
Yeah.
We need to understand, James Earl Jones was a ailing 90-year-old man when he made these decisions. And there is countless, and I genuinely mean countless, cases of people that age being forced to sign things they don't really understand just so their family can continue to make money off them.
Yeah.
This has been happening for as long as entertainment has existed. That does not make me feel better about the situation, and people on the internet going, his family are okay with it, does nothing for me, because for all I know, his family enjoy kicking kittens. Like, just because they're his family doesn't make them good people. Yeah?
Yeah.
Like, this idea that family have family's best interest at heart is fucking crazy. Then it gets even worse when the AI was being easily manipulated to swear and say racial slurs and bigoted things.
Do you know what makes that... Not that this is a funny situation that it does that, but there's just a situation that people have managed to work out how to make that happen. After, when they launched this, they made it very clear that you won't be able to make Vader say "kill the younglings" or do like there was certain phrases that they'd already outlined that were like Star Wars related. That he won't be able to say these things. completely forgetting that the internet goes, yeah, we don't care. We're going to make it say slurs.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what they
Also,
expected.
AI is dog shit. I hate it. Generative AI sucks ass. But this move is something that I'm assuming we both support massively. The internet doesn't like, and they're fucking morons, and I will explain why. SAG-AFTRA have sued Fortnite over this.
Yes.
Now, people are a bit confused. They think that SAG feel like they have some right to James Earl Jones's voice and that they had to get permission to use it. That is not the case at all, you fucking morons. It is very simple. In the past, in other video games, voice actors have been hired to do a impression take on Darth Vader because James Earl Jones didn't do the work while he was still alive and available.
Yeah.
By doing that, they created a expectation that other people could voice Darth Vader in video games. By creating that expectation in the past and then circumventing it in this situation, they have broken the collective bargaining agreement that they entered into with SAG-AFTRA to become a union-supported voice actors company, right?
Yeah.
So, to get access to SAG-AFTRA workers, you agree to their rules.
Yep.
Which is what all these strikes are about over the last few years, and this has always been the case. So if me and Hori wanted to make a fucking animated show, and we wanted professional voice actors to do it, we could go to a union. I don't think it'd be SAG-AFTRA for us because we're British. There will be a British union, but we could go to SAG-AFTRA. We would have to agree to their rules around their working practices and the rate we pay for different things and stuff like that to basically be allowed for union actors to come work for us.
Yes.
Fortnite have agreed to this for whatever reason at a different time, and now they've broken them rules. It is that fucking simple. Don't act like this is SAG-AFTRA acting like they have more power than they do. This is SAG-AFTRA going, you entered into a contract with us. You have broken that contract. We have to protect our union members. Otherwise, we as a union are pointless. This is what unions are supposed to do. This is a W action from SAG-AFTRA for having the balls to go after such a large and rich company.
Yeah, and it's the whole...
It's important to make a stand against this stuff.
It's the whole thing around it is AI voicing. Like, they have no issue with the fact that James Earl Jones estate, whatever, have agreed to this. That's fine. Sure. Their problem is this is a bigger issue in general that Epic is opening the door to by going this route of doing AI generated voices. Like you said, because they've agreed into these things with SAG-AFTRA, and because SAG-AFTRA has recently been fighting about AI voice stuff, and it's like, this is directly going against what they've been trying to protect. And they see that as a threat to that, so they're making a point.
I'm telling you right now, a bad voice actor off a $5, the worst one you can find, doing a Darth Vader impression, I will enjoy more than generative AI.
Well, you know what? Epic, I can only tell you, Epic's reasoning is going to be, well, we wanted this to be able to fluidly respond to whatever the players wanted, and like that's just too impossible to do with a voice actor to record every possible output. And it's like, just don't do it that way. It's already caused you problems. Like, there's a reason people stopped putting logo creators in games, because gamers can't be trusted.
Be clear here. A chat GPT message uses a litre of water. How much fucking water do you think this shit was using for 13-year-olds around the world to get Darth Vader to say slurs? Yeah, that really fucking protects the memory of James Earl Jones, doesn't it? You make me fucking sick, Tim Sweeney. You're an ugly man who has done nothing good with his life, and you're making the world worse by pushing this generative AI bullshit onto the masses.
I'd love is if the estate then now sees the clips of it doing slurs and stuff, and they're like, oh, okay, we remove permission. Like
I believe there are rumours that the family have taken legal action already to sue Fortnite because they promised them this couldn't happen, and it has happened. So, I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't trust this family based on the actions they've already made. They might just be suing because they think they can get even more money now.
Probably.
But they do have a legal leg to stand on if they were promised this couldn't happen. Dog shit. Fuck
Yeah.
AI. So shit. Back to better news now. Eric Kripke has said that no one is safe as we enter the final season of The Boys.
I don't think that's
Good.
a surprise.
Good. I'd be willing to bet the only person who's safe is Huey. I know he says no one is safe, but I think Huey's safe. Other than that, I genuinely think everyone's in trouble. But maybe they go the whole 9 yards, Rogue One it, and just kill everyone. Kind of fire. We got a trailer for The Bear season 4. The most ominous clock ever being installed into your workplace. Imagine that. It's like, this clock correlates to the amount of money in the company bank account. If that hits 0, you all lose your jobs.
I mean, it's the sort of thing that I fully expect to add pressure in that sort of a kitchen environment that they have in the Bear. Like that Michelin star restaurant, like that idea of like needing that pressure to keep everyone. I want to see if they have a good night, does the number go up slightly? Like, are we going to see them being like, oh, we've topped it up, we've got another week's worth of time?
You know what's going to happen, don't you? We're going to get a 35-minute one-er where there is 35 minutes left on the clock and they have to make enough money on the night to stay open another day.
Yeah. There is going to be that of like, it's going to be a big part of it.
This is probably a catchphrase at this point. I try and be optimistic. This, based on modern TV, is this show getting to a point where I worry the quality cannot be maintained. Right?
I think it's fine.
And don't get me wrong, I believe that this show is going to prove me wrong. But if you look at a lot of shows over the last 10 years, the first 3 seasons can be genuinely generational. And then they kind of run out of ideas. And instead of going, let's stop here, they keep going. Now, the speed at which they're going makes me think they're brimming with ideas. But not all ideas are created equal. I hope that we don't see a dip in quality. In fact, if this manages to stay at the quality of season 3 or somehow improve upon it, I'll genuinely be the first to admit it.
I genuinely
But even a little dip in quality is a little bit of a
I genuinely think this is going to top last season. From the trailer, and there is very clearly going to be a deeper story around kitchen family and how actually important that found family is, and clearly is going to be a big part of this, and them like coming together to overcome this challenge of like they're running out of money sort of thing. Like that deeper story of like an recognition to the kitchen world and kitchen, like, which they've done every season. Like there's so many things that have paid respect to the actual chefs of the world and that lifestyle. I think it's going to hit some storylines that are just better than last season.
If you had to give a prediction to maintain the best quality that this show can be, to be the Breaking Bad where you go every season is fire, how many seasons do you think they need to do? When do they need to get out by?
I could see 5 or 6.
I'm being a little bit less optimistic than you. I'm saying 5. I think we get season 4. Season 5 needs to wrap it up if it wants to leave as an all-timer. If they go to 6, I think it falls down the pecking order. Once again, if they end up going to 7 and I'm like, holy shit, they don't miss, I will, you know me, I'll happily go, fuck it, I was wrong. They knew what they were doing, fair play. I will be amazed if they can get to 6 seasons without a dip in quality.
I'm just like, in my head, I'm like, this season, they figure out what the issue is. They manage to stay afloat. Season 5, restaurant gets to a good place. Bear gets to have like his happy
A
moment.
day off.
But yeah, gets to like, I don't know. Maybe he gets back with Claire or whatever. Like, he has his like little happy storyline or whatever. Everyone has sort of like, restaurant's doing good. Now our lives can start doing good. Season 6 is like, everything gets to that place that they wanted to reach, and that's how they end it, with everyone is like where they needed to be, sort of thing.
So I know you're very excited as well. It comes out, is it July or is it June?
I want to say June, but I could be wrong.
I really hope it isn't. June's busy enough. Yeah, June 25th.
I did think
all
it
10
was like,
episodes come out on Wednesday, June 25th. That is not all going to be watched by the next Wednesday. I promise you that now, because I have to watch it with Jenna. So you can hold that.
I probably will watch it.
Hey, you've got a full-time job now, buddy. Binging
Mate,
10 hours of TV ain't too easy, no more.
I will take time off for the bear.
And our final bit of news for the week, Reacher season 4 was caught filming at Wrigley Park in the middle of an MLB game, which is kind of cool. Neagley was there alongside Reacher.
Yeah.
Very, very cool to know that it's being worked on actively. Love it, love it, love it.
I just want to know the context of how they end up at
I like the idea of that being the intro shot. Like, he's gone to visit Neagley and she's dragged him along to an event so that he can't disappear after 20 minutes. But I imagine there's going to be some fights going on around Wrigley Park as they're trying to hunt someone down or something, which is also pretty fucking cool.
Yeah, I mean, I can't wait for another season of Reacher, but obviously it's a while away yet.
Yeah, we've got a bit of time to wait, sadly.
Yeah.
That is it for this week's episode.
Yes.
There will be no episode next week.
No.
I am on holiday. I get back, and then it is the 24-hour charity live stream from May 29th at midday to May 30th at midday. So there is no podcast recording next week. But if you want to come laugh at a man dressed in a funny outfit, losing his mind after about 18 hours of gaming, you know where to find me. Thank you as always for hanging out. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time.